Hi everyone, it's MrMostDaysOff from the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. I want to say thank you so much for tuning into our podcast and also let you know of 3 additional ways you can help out the show. First, you can find and buy our merchandise at tpublic.com/bestdarndiddly. You can also support our sponsors popthreads.com for all your other t-shirt needs and use our discount code Simpsons at checkout. And finally, you can find us on patreon.com. Thank you again so much for listening to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show, and please enjoy this week's podcast. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by 2 dudes that grew up on The Simpsons. My name is Miles, better known as MrMostDaysOff, and today we have a special one for you. Not a special, excellent episode to talk about, no. We are here for our Best Darn Diddly Season 6 finale, Spectacular! Yes, we are going to be talking all about Season 6. We are going to, of course, be doing our top 5 and our bottom 1, which I'm sure we're going to get right to, right after I introduce you to your co-host with the most, Richie the WizKid. How you doing today, Rich?
As with all our other spectaculars, I am fine and dandy like sour candy, Miles. Except for one thing. You're not going to catch me off guard in this spectacular, Miles. I know you say we're going to get right into the top 5, but I'm not going to fall for it anymore. I know you're going to meander around, or as could be said incorrectly, matriculate up and down the field, but we're not going to get to it to the end. So let's just save all of our listeners all this hassle. Don't butcher this, Miles. Don't even attempt to tell me we're going to get into it. But despite everything I just said, I'm excited to hear where we're about to go, so I'll throw it back to you. The man, the myth, the McGriff, the bear baiter, the mosh pitter, the Momar, the attorney dumpster confidentiality man. It is Miles.
Well, I mean, with that introduction, I don't see what else we could possibly do but get right to it. So, my number 5 favorite episode of the season.
Oh shit, son.
Should I go first or second?
God damn it.
Oh, shoot. I just don't know. You know what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to come up with a fair way of who goes first and who goes second. I just don't feel like it would be right just to jump in there like that, like I was about to. Now I feel a little bit rude. And after all of that build-up, I think it'd be weird for you to take over. So
I'm just going to take a commercial break for the next 45 minutes. I'll see you later.
You know what we should do to start out? We've been celebrating Season 6 all season by going over each and every individual episode, but we're going to talk a little bit more generally about the season as a whole today. And the first thing I want to say is, holy crap, can you believe that this started all the way back with Bart of Darkness? Like, that feels like forever ago.
When I was looking through specific moments or trying to remember specific moments, I got to the point where I got back to that episode and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that was part of the season. I completely forgot. We had Jenny being on. It was a great review, but that was just so long ago, man.
So forever ago. I mean, it was ages ago that we talked to Jenny about that, and that was
we
so
were
much
young
fun.
men back then.
Yeah, I don't even think you had a beard yet. But and then again, we talked about it as we are looking forward to this season on our last finale, Spectacular. Thank you. That there is so, just looking across the list of episodes, there's so many immediately that just jump out and make this even more of a difficult season to actually come up with the top 5, which we're going to find a fair way to determine how we do that here. It'll come to us. But what do you think, Rich? So flashback to when we were young men. It was months and months and months ago. Hell, it was back in March of this year when we started this season. And we discussed
7 months ago.
Forever ago, right? Yeah, we discussed at the time that we were looking forward and think maybe, just maybe, Season 6 has the potential to be the best season thus far. What do you think? Did it live up to that hype?
This season, there were certain episodes that I had a little bit above average expectations for, and I think it ended up on both ends of the spectrum. There are certain ones like grandpa versus sexual inadequacy that I remember very fondly, but I felt like it just fell a little bit flat at certain parts, even though it's a great acting job by Dan throughout that entire episode. But then there's other episodes that I had super high expectations for, even more so than that one, and I feel like they definitely lived up to it, like Bart's Comet or some episode that might be my top-rated one in the season, I don't know. But
we're recording this one, the PTA disbands just released on for everyone to hear, and that was one that immediately jumps out in my mind as one that was it shocked me. Just looking over the list, it didn't really jump out at me, but then rewatching the episode is like, holy shit, this is a great episode, and there's a lot of them like that.
I definitely feel like, and we say this at every season finale show, that this is the best season of The Simpsons in my mind so far, but I said that after season 5, I said that after season 4, I said it after season 3, and I didn't say it after season 1, but I did after season 2.
Well, I mean, I think as we were reviewing it, we said that season 1 was the best season that we reviewed so far. I mean,
that's very fair. It
has gotten progressively better each time. Yeah. No, I think that so far it has been just straight incline. And again, we're getting into that area where people start to debate, was it the quote unquote decline of The Simpsons? Which again, we're going to, I don't know that that's ever going to happen. So we'll find out.
I'm just saying right now, season 6 is not it if it happens.
Season 6 has at least set the bar for now. Will season 7 be able to compete is going to be the next question that we are going to dive into. And of course, we're going to have a lot to talk about because not only are we changing seasons, but we're changing showrunners. And I know we're going to have a lot to say, a little bit more to talk about David Merkin, and we're going to talk about the new guys, Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein. But first, just looking over at the list of season 7, Rich, what do you think? Does it have a shot?
Miles, after we finished season 6, I wasn't sure because I just love season 6 so much. But after looking through the episodes in season 7, I was like, there might not be as many quote unquote iconic episodes, but it's pretty damn close to having as many. So there's a really good shot that at the end of season 7, we're going to be saying that season 7 is the best season of the show so far. But yeah, I mean, I think it'll at least be able to keep up with season 6 going into it at least.
Dude, there are a lot. You say that, but I mean, looking at it, I see a lot of very classic episodes. I mean, just right.
I thought they were almost on par on the number of episodes.
That's fair. I don't know. To me, it sounded like he sold this short a little bit. And when I look around, I mean, right off the bat, obviously our next episode is going to be the conclusion of Who Shot Mr. Burns. But
I still don't know who did it.
Immediately after that, you have Radioactive Man. I mean,
that is a great, like that one. And when I saw that one at the beginning, I was like, holy shit, this is going to be awesome.
Bart sells his soul in this one. I'll save more of these for now. Those are just literally like, I don't even have to scroll down to see them. They're just on the page.
Miles, you're forgetting the best episode of the season. The Simpsons 138th episode, Spectacular.
You say that, and in all honesty, that's a great fucking episode, and especially if you want to do your best to compare apples to apples here, I think you line that one up with season 6, another Simpsons clip show, and it's a knockout. Yeah, it's a complete and total knockout. But I mean, that's their clip show essentially for the season. Or I'm sorry, the clip show for the season. So I mean, really, it's a fair comparison in a lot of ways.
Except it's got a lot more new content in the season 7 one.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, if you had to line up the episodes, I think that's the matchup that you'd have to give it.
But yes, we shall see after we review the 138th episode of The Simpsons how we feel about those clip shows at that time.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see what number that lines up with our podcast, because we're a little bit off because of all of our double episodes and sometimes our two-parters. So eventually it could theoretically line up, actually. There's potential.
Crazy.
I'm not going to do anything to force it, but that'd be really funny if it did.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a big change coming, and again, we talked about him a lot throughout the season. I heard him speak on almost every director's commentary for each and every episode throughout both seasons 5 and 6. We, of course, are talking about David Merkin, the showrunner for the last 2 seasons, Rich, and I think we both agree we really like the Merkin touch. He took something that was already great, that was molded by people like Mike Reese and Al Jean, Sam Simon, of course. Before that, even Matt Groening. But Merkin gave it a really fun twist.
As you said, we touch on it numerous times, but it's really, really fun and interesting to see how an individual can impact a show and just do these little changes, these little nuances that make it their own in a way. And David Merkin definitely put his stamp on his 2 seasons of The Simpsons. I absolutely loved both seasons. And it's those little dark moments that he throws in for the most part overall. I think we're just like, I mean, you see it and you're like, that's totally Merkin right there. I totally see that now, and I never noticed that before. And yeah, like you said, we both, I wholeheartedly agree with you. We both really, really love the David Merkin era, I would like to say.
We both loved him without a doubt, but, I've been doing a little bit more research on the man for this special, spectacular episode. Spectacular! And it seems that there are some alleged reports, I should say, because I don't see anybody named by name who has ever actually spoken out against him, but apparently there is a lot of friction during the time of Merkin while he was at the show. A lot of writers reportedly struggled with him, and a lot of the issues may have come from the fact that most of the Simpsons writers came from an Ivy League education. As we know, many of them went to Harvard or Yale. But
those Yaleys.
Those damn Yaleys. But Merkin actually went to film school at Loyola Marymount University, and then after graduating, he became a stand-up comedian before moving to television writing. So his background was very different than the other writers on the show, and sometimes they just didn't really see eye to eye. His sense of humor, as we know, tends to be a little bit darker in places, and he also is very bold about pushing for his ideas, as I've discovered on the commentary many, many times. But all in all, I think that maybe that different angle of perspective is why we are both so fond of the Merkin era.
Yeah, and a lot of times there can be really good things that come from that kind of tension or difference of opinion if you actually are forced to sit down and work together. Maybe some current politicians could figure that out, but the Simpsons writers figured it out a long time ago. And I definitely think with Merkin having that background where he was studying TV and film, he probably helped him see his ideas being able to be put on television and in cartoon form a lot easier than when you're writing it and it's like, this is getting really dark. But Merkin always had a way of making a little light fun of a lot of those instances as well.
Sure. This will be a good transition into our next segment that I know you're really excited about. But one example that's noted in John Ortved's Oral History of The Simpsons, a former writer by the name of Brent Forrester actually said that Merkin was just absolutely thrilled with this gag that they came up with for the episode Homie the Clown, where Homer bashes a man's head into the ground. And the Brent Forrester.
I'm sorry for laughing.
Forrester remembers thinking that that's never happened on The Simpsons before, and at the same time, he could see that Merkin just thought it was the absolute most hilarious thing. Which brings us to what we like to call our Merkin moments, a coin that you actually phrased, and I really am fond of, where there are a couple of examples we had definitely pointed out in Season 5, and we'll now point out here a few in Season 6, of times where the show seems to take a Merkin edge, and like I said, we like to call them Merkin moments. I have a big one that I know I'm going to talk about. There's a good chance that it's also on your list, but I'll go ahead and let you start on this one, just arbitrarily, for absolutely no reason, no rule or rhyme. You're just going to go first, and it's no big deal, as if we could have started any segment in this very manner. But with that, please, sir, what were some of your favorite Merkin moments?
Well, and you heard it here first, everyone. Miles loved the phrase that I coined, and that was Beastmaster Bart. So here we go with our Merkin moments. Honestly, I completely forgot about the scene where Homer attacks the Hamburglar ripoff guy, and that's such an obvious Merkin moment in Homie the Clown, and I completely forgot that one. And that's because I was so caught up on the 2001 Greyhounds episode, because I feel like that whole episode was just a giant inflated Merkin moment, from the thought of skinning puppies alive and Mr. Burns pulling out a gun and having it aimed at Bart and Lisa the whole time. And then, of course, the ending scene, which I think is the biggest Merkin moment of the entire season, pretty much, where it looks like Homer has hung himself in the basement. And Marge walks down there.
Yeah, that's the moment that I had that was my big one that I was going to talk about.
I'm
is
sorry,
like that
I'm
whole
sorry.
sequence at the end of that. No, it's fine. It's fine. I had a feeling
I'm glad our notes compared together well.
But yeah, the hanging sequence. I mean, it is super, super dark. A little bit reminiscent of Shawshank Redemption, I believe. Whenever,
yes.
The guy's hanging himself after being freed from prison. But just really funny, really well done. It is very, very dark, but you cannot help but laugh as you see the closing credits come over. Homer swinging a light bulb aggressively.
But yeah, outside of that episode, the most recent one we reviewed, Mr. Burns, Who Shot Mr. Burns Part 1, for some reason, and I talked about this last week, when you see Barney holding that gun in Moe's bar, I don't know why. It feels a little
very sinister.
Yeah, and like I was like, that had to be like a Merkin decision, I feel like. But some lighter ones that still have a bit of darkness to them. The whole frog bit in Australia at the end when the frogs are taking it over and there's the music playing, and then the zooming in on the koala's eye. Like that just felt very Merkin-esque to me in a way. The ending of And Maggie Makes Three, we talked about it in our podcast. It was a different Merkin moment, but if I remember correctly, you were pointing out that Merkin wanted to make the stakes a little bit higher where you actually felt sad in that moment or a happy sadness. And so I think that's something that Merkin absolutely achieved. I mean, it's one of everyone's favorite endings to an episode because it makes us all bawl like little babies, but that felt like a very dramatic Merkin shift right there. Another one, Bart's Comet. When Flanders is outside by himself and he's starting to do his little song thing, like it's such a dark moment because like you assume everything's going to end okay, but you have that feeling where it's like, dude, this dude just went out there to die. Like,
I mean, you're led to believe, even though you know it's a cartoon and it's probably not going to happen, you are led to believe that Ned Flanders is just going to die in fiery, disgusting death.
Yes, and I promise we just have a few more, but I love all these moments because it's the difference you feel, that little, like I said, nuance where you feel like it's got to be Merkin. Homer S. Portrait of an Ass Grabber. That whole little movie had to be Merkin. Like, it had to be Merkin. I don't know what else it could be right there. And then in the PTA disbands when Ooter gets left behind at the beginning. You lost another child.
The cosplayers.
Yeah.
And those are all great examples, and those are moments that I think we are definitely going to miss.
Yes.
But good news lies ahead, because while David Merkin did a great job, we have two very, very talented gentlemen taking over, and I think their history, and not at all the same exact way, but there are some parallels in their history that I think parallel to us a little bit. They more remind me of us than the one David Merkin does. So, in that note, what I'll say is Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein are very long-time writing partners. I still cannot find verification if it was 7 or 9, but they've been literally writing together since they were kids. So already writing together for a decade or more by the time that they take over the show on The Simpsons. And many of those years were working together on The Simpsons, including for the episode Who Shot Mr. Burns, both parts 1 and 2.
So you're saying they finish each other's sandwiches.
Exactly.
In writing
no,
form.
what I will say is Richie and I, for those who don't know, we actually met in college and used to get a little wild, as most college students do from time to time.
Usually because you talked me into it.
You're welcome. And while David Merkin was known for bringing a darker and more surreal feel to the show, Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein were known for bringing a college-y feel to the writer's room, and I think that we're going to see a lot of real fun just episodes and jokes in general that are going to come from a much more innocent, maybe, place, or just like a place of mischief and whimsy when you get kids who are, well, I mean, these are adult children, but like us very much, who get in the same room together and start playing, and that's when the really fun ideas start to fly. We already mentioned it, but we've got the Aurora Borealis sequence to look forward to between Skinner and Chalmers.
Not at this time of year, Miles.
Not centrally located in my kitchen. You're exactly right.
That joke never gets old, people.
Dude, they've made so many versions. I want to save this until we get to that episode, but I have a lot of really cool stuff to talk about what they have done with that sequence. It is one of the most recreated sequences on the entire internet, and Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein love that shit. They actually, I see them interacting with people with those and sharing the links to them all the time. So can't wait to talk more about that when we get to that episode.
They taught me what Aurora Borealis means.
Yeah, another one of those times we've talked about. Actually, we haven't in a minute, but maybe we'll get more back to that as well, where sometimes you feel like you learn on The Simpsons without actually like meaning to. Like accidental learning is like a side effect of laughing at something that you hear a bunch. But yeah, I'm excited to see what type of transition we're going to have. I know a lot of colleagues of mine that I'm fond of their opinion really appreciate Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein, and they really lit up, and some of those people will actually be on the show this coming season. Can't wait to talk to them and get their opinions on why they were so excited specifically for this era of the show.
Like Dr. Andy?
Dr. Andy will be back. The streak will continue. In fact, I won't announce what episode he's on just yet because it's subject to change because I'm still working out the details, but it could be very, very soon, actually, here in just a few short weeks. I'll save that. I'll also say this, and I think you're really going to appreciate this, Rich. Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein are also known for being the showrunners who started to take a focus on some of the peripheral characters, such as Seymour Skinner and some of the other side characters of Springfield that we haven't really completely explored just yet on the show. We've definitely started getting there, but these two are supposed to really open up those doors and kind of expand the Springfield universe a little bit. With that said, I know something that you and I talked just a little bit about off the air. What do you think some of the better non-Simpson family moments were from this previous season in season 6?
Well, more specifically, I think in terms of like, what side stories would I want to see further developed? Like, what stories are we missing in the Simpsons universe? And because they're popular episodes, they just probably stand out in my mind more because I love them so much. But damn it, Miles, I want to know what happens at the Ancient Mystic Society of No Homers. There are so many good characters. I mean, Patrick Stewart is the number 2, or I guess he'd be the number 1 in that scenario. But like, I want to see what kind of things they do. I'm sure they're just drinking and shooting pool.
A lot of beer and ping pong, but still.
And
yeah,
Steve Guttenberg singing. But like, I want to see where that path goes down for some reason. And other than that, I would like to see Shelby, the kid from the Shelbyville group, him and Millhouse 2. I want to see what kind of shenanigans those kids get into, and like, hopefully they're not sore anymore about Bart and everything else. But I want to see some stories in Shelbyville and what goes on over there. They're a little backwards, I hear, over there.
Well, what is it? Turnip juice? I mean, it makes you slow, I think.
Well, that's because the lemon tree was haunted.
That's true. It was a good thing they got it out of their town. But yeah, I think that you might get to see some more of that under the new showrunners, which will be cool. I think we're going to get to learn. I believe there's an episode that's going to explore Apu a lot more in the next episode. Even though we've already had a couple of Apu-centric episodes, it's going to even open up his backstory even further for us. Probably many other characters. I haven't actually looked ahead to see, and off the top of my head, I can't think of any right now, but are there any that jump out? I mean, Radioactive Man we talked about. Technically, that's a side character that we're going to be learning more about. Yeah, that's true, too.
Millhouse and...
Oh, a big one is when Krusty fakes his death. That's coming up in this season.
Bart the Fink, I believe, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right.
What? Who told you that?
We might even get a little bit more Patty and Selma, because I think that we're going to see Troy McClure take Selma's hand for a little while.
That's a lot of side character development there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. And even you could argue, well, I don't even think it's an argument. I guess it's an asterisk because it's Abe, but Raging Abe Simpson and his grumbling grandson and the Curse of the Flying Hellfish, which is the longest Simpsons title ever, by the way.
As you joked about already like twice yesterday, hopefully we don't have a guest on that episode. Makes the title even longer.
It just gets out of hand, yeah.
That might be an early contender for one of the best episodes of the season, too, if it still holds up in my mind the way I remember it.
I have fond memories. I can never stop laughing about the very end when all the cops are dancing in short shorts that they find. I think that's the right episode.
I thought that was the one where Homer goes on the crazy tamale trip, and then they take the lighthouse light out, and then there's a boat that wrecks. And
I think that is right. I think this one is the one where they find all the art. Yep. I'm tripping. My bad. Oh well, I'm looking forward to both those episodes. Fuck it. Fuck it.
It's The Simpsons, damn it. It's gonna be good either way.
One thing that we got a lot of almost maybe spoiled on in season 6 is songs that were sang during the season, Rich. And I know we talked a little bit about this off air as well, but what song were you most fond of during this season?
Oh, it's not even close, man. It's See My Vest. I've sing that song in my head all the time before we were recording it, but I'm definitely singing it in my head all the time after we recorded it as well. There's something about like, how it's supposed to be so evil. He's talking about killing animals and wearing their fur, but I mean, it's in the tune of a Disney song, a popular Disney song, and it's Mr. Burns, so it fits his character perfectly, and it's just damn catchy, as Bart would put it.
That is a really, really strong song. I mean, it's so funny. The animation in that sequence is so good. Yes. Really, really strong contender, though. I'm actually going to out it with the Stonecutters song. That
was my number 2.
That one. I was flip-flopping a lot back and forth between the See My Vest and the Stonecutters, and I think what really put it over was 2 things. One, I'll say 3 things. One, I think I just sing that one
Top 5
often.
Things?
Yeah, it's just going to grow. It's just going to be a whole podcast special about why I like these 2 songs so much. But I think what really put it over was when the Somebody's Network came together and made a version of the Stonecutters song for our 100th episode. That was just really cool, and those guys are so cool for doing it. I love seeing all of our friends come together to support us like that, and that was really fun. Also, before I knew they were doing it, I had already started writing a parody, for lack of a better word, our own very special version of the Stonecutters song, which we changed, of course, to Thank You. And that's a thank you to every single person who has ever downloaded the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. We cannot thank you enough. In fact, let me go ahead and play that thank you song again right here, right now. This is our version of the Stonecutters theme from our 100th podcast special.
Oh, thank you, Miles.
What podcast knows where Springfield's found? Who best impersonates Krusty the Clown? We do. We do. Who has awesome guests fill the gaps? Who has the wrestlers do Simpsons raps? We do. We do. Who gets proud to have made it this far? Who has the best listeners by far? We do. We do. Who digs watching Simpsons every night? Who does the Simpsons podcast right? We do. We do. Who keeps us motivated to do this for? Who gives us a reason to keep making more? You do. You do. We're so happy to have 100 down. There's still over 500 more, so please don't frown. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, everybody who downloads and listens to the show. We really, really do appreciate it. It's so much fun hearing and interacting with everybody. And honestly, it's so much more fun to do the show when we know people are listening to us as well. So we greatly appreciate it. I mean, we would still do the show if it was just us listening to it.
Some weeks it is.
But to be fair, it would just be you listening to it most of the time. I still got to catch up on the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just 2.
I was on a good streak for a long time.
Yeah, no, but really, he's 100%. We can't thank you enough for interacting with us and being a part of this best darn diddly journey through the golden age of the Simpsons.
It's the doodliest.
And it's not just our listeners we got to thank. We also have incredible guests come on the show. We get so lucky with all of the wonderful people that we've got to meet in the world of podcasting. And people like Jenny Bean from the Derailers podcast, who we already talked about earlier on, but worth mentioning again. Such an awesome chick. Make sure you follow at the Derailers on Twitter and Instagram. Jenny Bean, 1/3 of the crew, along with both her husbands, Ripken and Goobs.
Oh,
I think in that order. I'm not certain.
That's how things are in Canada.
DJ Nine Toes.
Yeah.
Word. Love those guys, though. We also had Toby from the Secret Transmission podcast, who I absolutely adore as a human being, but he picked I don't want to spoil anything. You know what? We're going to do the bottom 2 episodes when we do our list here, which we're going to get to very, very soon. He came on for the worst episode of the season by far, another Simpsons clip show. I have no idea still to this day why he picked it. I think he just messed up is what it really was, but it was his choice. He wasn't being punished. We love him anyway, and it made talking about that episode even more fun just going through it together. Bob.
Happy birthday, even though this is going to come out like a month or so after.
Ocho. Actually, by this time, it's pretty close to his birthday, so we'll go ahead
and wait,
his
actual birthday wasn't yesterday?
No, that was a prank. We all got pranked.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, those slimy bastards. We had Bob from the Nerd or Not podcast come on, and Bob is really cool dude who lives in Orlando, which is perfect to talk about the episode Itchy and Scratchy Land. We got to get some theme park professionalism coming in here, giving a little bit of expertise from his time at the parks, and we had a lot of fun talking with him, of course.
Inside look.
And for the first time in Best Darn Diddly history, we had a guest come on for not 1, but 2 episodes, both Treehouse of Horror 5 and for A Star is Burns. And it makes it even better that person happens to be one of the creators of The Simpsons, Mike Reese. Still a little bit starstruck from our now, I think, almost 3 hours of conversation that we had with Mike Reese talking about both The Simpsons and The Critic, and of course his new book, Springfield Confidential, which
order it on Amazon.
If you haven't picked it up already, we just said we're getting close to Christmas at this point, so you might as well start putting it on your list. It's a great read. Definitely check that out, and was just so thrilled to have Mike on the show. Maybe one day we'll have the pleasure of getting him back to come talk even more Simpsons with us. And hey, Mike, bring Al with you if you want. It's fine. We have plenty of room here at the Best Darn Diddly Review Show.
I second everything you just said. But no, thank you so much, Mike Reese, for being on. It was an absolute pleasure. Someone you've always looked up to and admired their work. Actually getting to hear all the behind-the-scenes stuff. It's a very awestruck moment for me, personally. And then, Miles, we had Patty Cakes himself, Patsy the Angry Nerd from the Throwdown Thursday podcast, come to talk to us about Homer the Great, which was just an absolute treasure of an episode and a treasure of a human being. So that was a whole lot of fun.
I don't mean to laugh. I agree with everything you just said. It was just the wording. Patty Cakes.
You didn't think I would have that touch of tenderness inside me, did you? You're a treasure,
honestly, he's been posting his pictures in his shark suits, and I just feel like I need more of somebody who wears a shark suit in my life. So, love you, buddy.
And then we had Toph from the Gravity Beards podcast.
Super good dude.
Absolutely. Come on to talk to us about Homie the Clown, which is one of my favorite episodes. Shocker alert there, and spoiler alert there for a little while down the road here. But yeah, that was so much fun, and we actually got to meet Toph later on, too.
Yeah, really, really nice guy. He gave me I was trying to send him a t-shirt and he gave me the wrong fucking address. So it got returned in the mail and I've just been sitting on it for like a week now. So,
you got Miles' ass on your freaking shirt there, Toph.
It's going to get to you by Christmas. That's my goal. We'll put a nice bow on it from Best Darn Diddley. That'll be great. But yeah, super cool dude. Really glad to have him. And I think we'll have him down the road as well. We also got us some real life Australians to talk to us about Bart vs. Australia, or at least the one. We had Paul from the Countdown podcast, which was super, super cool. A lot of fun just to get his perspective on what Australians thought about the episode that so firmly made fun of Australia. And man, really nice guy, a lot of fun to talk about, and had a great perspective and a great sense of humor. Had a lot of fun ribbing back and forth with him as well.
That was a whole lot of fun, like you said, Miles. And thank you very much for not taking any offense to any of the jokes we made. And then, Miles, we had our good friend Charlie Hunter. He came on to talk to us about 201 Greyhounds, which I know all three of us had an absolute blast recording that one.
And singing. It's always fun when we get to sing with a guest. That's the best part sometimes about this show. And
I thought that he was going to go balls deep into that song. I think we caught him off guard a little bit on that too.
Yeah,
so
I don't think he was ready. Andy also, Dr. Andrew Briseño somehow managed to get through 5 seasons without catching a song, but he got one for Round Springfield when the Jazz Man testifies. Dr. Andrew Briseño, thank you again. Always love having you on the show and can't wait to have you back again to keep the streak alive for season 7.
Whoa. I think by law, after season 6, it's a movie. Then you can go to season 7.
Well, we also have a lot of great guests already lined up for season 7. We're still working on getting some more. I've been tweeting and Instagramming about it. You've seen my calendar already posted with some of the guests on there. It's going to be a wild ride, possibly the most guests I've ever had booked at for one season, I should say. But we're going to get there. Before we do, I think that I've come up with a fair way, Rich, to start our top 5. And it seems like the time has come, wouldn't you say?
I always say, I do nothing but say, I can't say's no more. Let's do our top 5. Now.
I agree, and I think the only way to determine who is going to get to go first...
Yes?
...is for us to have a calm debate over it while we hear from some buddies of ours.
Go!
I'm Jay.
I'm Bob.
And I'm Corey.
We are the Cretans Guild.
We're a trio of man-children whose friendship predates The Lion King, Green Day's Dookie, the N64, and the Chunnel.
We have backgrounds working in television, video games, radio broadcasting, creative writing, and pizza delivery. That's a large cheese, right?
On our podcast, Nerd or Not, you'll hear us talk about board games, TV, movies, comics, collectibles, video games, wrestling, theme parks. We even did a segment on pizza.
So check and listen to us on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. And check out our socials on Twitter and Instagram under Cretans Guild.
Welcome to the Guild.
You know what, Miles? We're done right now, okay? We are absolutely done. I'm gonna put this in words you understand. Now you wait here just a minute. I'm just gonna go with my number 5 pick, okay? My number 5 pick, top 5 episodes of the season. Number 5, A Star Is Burns. I loved it. I loved everything behind the scenes. I loved hearing how it was made. I love how funny the episode is. I love Doink. Everything about it is fantastic. Number 5, A Star Is Burns. And here we go, Miles. I'm going to go ahead and throw in my number 4 right now, since I know you're just going to pitter-patter around the whole time.
No, wait. I got to do my 5. We got to go in order.
Oh, no. You're gonna just keep pushing it back, so I might as well just keep going through the list, buddy. I just had one more thing to say before I went into my number 5. I mean, it's just one short little thing. It's fine. Yes, Richie's number 4 episode is...
No, okay, fine. All right, fine. You win. All right, my number 5. My number 5 episode is Itchy and Scratchy Land. I just really love this episode. I really love theme parks. I love the idea of the Euro Itchy and Scratchy Land at the end. I really enjoyed our conversation with
That
Bob
poor
on
Mark.
this, which is not supposed to influence it, and I tried not to let guests influence it, but I think just my love of theme parks and my love of this episode made it squeak into my number 5, bumping a bunch of episodes that I already regret not having on the list.
I wanted to say before we get into our number 4s, this is the first real debate that I've had on season shows on our top 5, where I actually made the list a couple days in advance to us recording, and it totally screwed me over. I usually can sit down, right before we're about to record, and I can easily write down my top 5 because I've already looked over the episode list a few times. I actually had Itchy and Scratchy Land at one point at number 5, and I didn't have A Star Is Burns in my top 5 at all. And then after I thought about it for a little bit longer, I was like, yeah, I like the jokes a little bit better in A Star Is Burns, even though I like the whole adventure aspect of Itchy and Scratchy Land. But I mean, you really can't go wrong with episodes like Itchy and Scratchy Land and A Star Is Burns. Like, they're so interchangeable in my mind in a top 5 list.
Well, I was going to say, I could honestly see somebody make an argument for almost any 5 of these episodes being in their top 5. Maybe there's a couple that would be like, wow, you excluded that one. But, ultimately, looking over this list, it was another Simpsons clip show omitted, and then everything else was like, oh my God.
Miles wants that episode to burn in hell.
It's not even that bad. It's still very watchable for a clip show, but it's clearly, just head and shoulders below everything else.
Marge almost talks about how she was going to cheat on Homer.
Yeah.
No, that's what I mean. It's that's how far they went to talk about love, where she was talking about almost cheating.
Oh, yeah. That was super weird. Talking about Jacques with her,
Mimosa?
kids in the room. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's go ahead and dive into our number 4, which I went with Treehouse of Horror 5, which I think was clearly the strongest Treehouse to date. The shinning alone could have made this list in my mind.
And we have to say in advance, I'm not surprised by this at all. I figured this one would be in your top 5, but it also has a lot to do with the fact that you're just a super, as most Simpsons fans are, a Treehouse of Horror person. And while I enjoy the Treehouse of Horror episodes, I've never been a big fan of the 3 episode format where it's not part of the actual canon for the show. And for some reason that always puts them a little bit lower on my list, even though they're really good episodes.
That's fair. I'm also just a huge Halloween fan, so it being my favorite holiday, that I think without a even close rival, The Simpsons have the best Halloween specials of any TV show ever.
Oh, by far. And I'm actually really excited for the one coming up in season 7, because I think that one's going to be really, really good.
And the one coming up next season in real time, they just announced they actually are going to make the next Treehouse of Horror episode number 666.
Because it's spooky.
Ooh, just fun the time.
No, that's really cool. That's awesome that works out that way. All right, well, I guess that means it's time for my number 4 episode. Again, my top 2 episodes, easy. My next 3, I scratched out. There's about 4 or 5 episodes I had for 3, 4, and 5. So I played a Miles role this season, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But my number 4 episode, Bart's Comet. I love the humor throughout the entire episode, especially all the stuff with Skinner at the beginning, going to get his inflatable balloon down and missing Bart screwing up his telescope. Everything was so funny. And then,
oh no, they're hitting my car.
And then, of course, Homer was right at the end. And that's just the part where it's just, it's so awesome, where it's,
I'm
the
scared
kids
too,
and Homer
kids.
are so scared. Yeah.
That is really
and
great.
poor Mose gets destroyed in every sense of the word.
Yeah. See, this is just another one.
fun.
This might be our most different list to date, and I think a lot of it's just because there were so many episodes that we could have gone with, and Bart's Comment was absolutely a wonderful episode. And I think, again, if I remember correctly, that's the one that Merkin actually said was a perfect Simpsons episode.
All right. Glad I agree with the man.
What was your number 3?
My number 3, man, I gotta spoil 2 episodes that aren't in my top 5 list right now. I had trouble finding a spot for And Maggie Makes 3. I really wanted to put it in the list, but I didn't want to put it in there solely based on the ending. And while the ending is such a tear-jerking good moment, and there's a lot of really good moments in the episode, I feel like it wasn't the best overall episode. That one and Homer Badman I kicked out of my top 5. I had Homer Badman at number 3 at one point. But I told myself it's mostly because the opening scene, which might be my favorite opening scene in Simpsons history, with the gummy DeMayo, the Venus DeMilo gummy and everything, and Homer blowing up the candy convention with the soda can. Like, it's such a fun opening act, but I didn't want to put an episode in the top 5 just based on that. So my number 3 episode, which you don't really have to say anything about because we talked about it a lot in this episode, Homer the Great. Just the fun and the hijinks all throughout the episode. The fact that it's Patrick Stewart, and yeah, that does influence me a little bit because he so goes into it wholeheartedly and 100%, and it just makes the episode even more funny. A great song, great jokes. Homer the Great, number 3.
So I agree with so much of what you just said, especially when it came to the Maggie Makes 3, which I will spoil also slipped out of my top 5 despite really wanting it to hang in there because I think it packs the most emotional punch of the season. But I actually went with what episode I want to most rewatch right now. And as much as I love that episode, I just don't think that it has that flair the whole time like some of these others do. But I couldn't agree more. And it's funny, I also had Homer Badman in my number 3 spot at one time, which is actually right now because that was my number 3 pick. I do love the opening sequence, but I actually just love that entire episode. I love the way that episode, even though it was made in 1995, it speaks so soundly to what's happening right now in 2018. It's just so interesting.
Are you saying that white men should be scared?
I'm not saying that actually, but I think it is funny.
I wanted to clarify that.
I think it's funny that does happen though, and I mean, like the simple fact of the matter is, while the statistics, I mean, far show that there are many more victims of sexual assault that aren't reported than there are men who are accused of sexual assault who didn't commit it. But ultimately, it still just speaks volumes to what the real conversation in the United States is today as we record it. And I think that has some power to it. So Homer Badman makes my number 3. And just real solid episode beginning to end. I will agree the candy convention is probably the highlight of the show, though.
And see, my issue with Homer Badman is how easily it gets wrapped up. Like, conveniently, Willie was filming from the bushes, which is really funny.
It's really common in Scotland, sir. That's what they do there, all right?
Every Scotsman does it! But it's just so fast that it was one of those quick reset moments, and that was really, I mean, it got him out of the situation. So
but the helpful. Tape, dude, where they like recreate like what Homer's saying, and like you talked about earlier in the Merkin moments, like but yeah, the made-for-TV movie, there's just so much above it, and I had fond memories of it from childhood as well. It was one of the episodes that I think was both funny as a kid and but still funny as an adult, but also with like a more meaningful message. But regardless, that brings us to number 2, which I am going to say, and this one might give away my number 1 while we're at it. I don't know. Again, there's so many good choices. Maybe not.
I bet I know what this one is for you.
This one is what I predict will be your favorite episode of the season, Lemon of Troy, which is a solid episode, but I don't think it was the best episode of the season, despite many great moments. I will always and forever love the Rocky math scene. With Roman numerals. That's probably the highlight for me of that episode, but there's so much to love. But I do think there's one episode that's better. Before I reveal that, what was your number 2 episode of the season?
I have to say, when I spoke at the top of this episode about having expectations for an episode and them living up or surpassing the expectations, I was specifically talking about my number 2 episode. And I'm not picking this just because I do a halfway decent impersonation of one of the main characters in the episode. I just think this episode is straight funny all the way through. up until the very last moments. Homie the Clown. I can't say enough about this episode. I just absolutely love it. It makes me laugh my ass off. It makes me smile the whole way through the episode, like I said. And there's just so much joy and so much to love about the episode. And even like the moments where Krusty's running away from the mob, but the camera's just on the mob guys and you hear all the stuff in the background that Krusty's doing. And we talked about it while we were doing the episode, where it wouldn't have been quite as funny to actually see him do it, just to hear the sound effects and just how you can get so much out of such small moments with not a lot happening. I think it's just great. I've said great a lot on this top 5, but
it's great.
Homie the Clown was excellent. Excellent.
There you go. Excellent. That's good. Would you say it's a classic episode, Richie?
A Krusty classic.
With the
Krusty the Clown classic.
There you go.
A triple K, a Krusty Clown classic.
I don't know if we should go with that. we should probably come up with something different. Let's take a huge turn away from that mess real quick, and instead of revealing our favorite episodes, we'll let that linger for just a minute. We're going to do our bottom 2 episodes, which, let's be real, I think both of our bottom episodes is going to be another Simpsons clip show. And am I wrong on this?
Yeah. I have 2 episodes tied for my next least favorite, kinda, but it's just, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot new in the episode, and like I totally understand why they do them. Like, it makes complete sense to me, and even as a kid, I didn't like these episodes.
Well,
like,
and I think specifically this season's was just particularly bad. Because, the other clip shows like at least had like the April Fool's Day thing going on, which is actually pretty funny.
Like that. Yeah,
and like the 138th Spectacular is barely even a clip show if it does count
fake
as one.
Clip show.
Right. So, I mean, it can be done in a way that's good. This was just not that well executed. And I mean, again, to your point, we can't even really blame them. They had to do 25 episodes this season, and that was one of the ways they were able to make that happen. So I get it.
All right, Miles. So what was your bottom episode, excluding clip show?
As much as I like this episode, I had to be honest and say that it was the Marge episode, Fear of Flying.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's great. I love it how it all twists, and there's another Merkin moment at the end where after Marge gets the courage to actually get on the plane, it fucking crashes. Now, not violently, it just runs into a pond, never actually lifts off, but still really, really funny, especially when I think like Homer is like, I got trout in my feet or something. I don't know. But yeah.
It's just trout swimming around your feet.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But yeah, Marge, Fear of Flying, while I think it's a good episode, I think it was the weakest of this very strong season.
See, I particularly enjoyed that episode. I mean, obviously not as much as Springfield Connection, but yeah, that was more middle of the pack for me. My bottom episode, I was going back and forth between 2, but I feel like this one just edged out the other one, and I'll go ahead and say both of them. But my bottom episode was Lisa's Rival.
Okay, fair.
I even though I love the Telltale Heart,
I was gonna say I love that ending so much,
but I just feel like overall
I bet my
wasn't
Wookiee.
One of the stronger. And it's got some classic lines that want to make you go back from that. But I gave Ralph the best episode of the season in season 4, so he can be part of the bottom one of this year.
And what was it tied with?
The other one that I was close to edging out on this was Bart's Girlfriend.
Okay.
I felt like there wasn't a lot going on there, and it's just Bart's thrown off his game, and I understand that's the best for character development, but the whole time you're just like, man, just snap out of it, Bart. Like, I don't know. It didn't feel quite whole to me. So, I mean, you could really interchange either one of those 2 on the bottom one for me, or it just wasn't quite as much fun as the other episodes in my mind.
Fair. Well, Rich, I think that everyone who has listened to this show for any amount of time already knows what you're about to say, but we have hit the moment. What is your favorite episode from season 6?
No contest, man. Lisa's fucking wedding. I mean, Lemon of Troy. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I've never hid my opinion of this episode. I only said I was worried it wouldn't live up to the hype in my mind, but I absolutely think it did. I love every scene in the episode, all of it. I'm very fond of the Greek mythology throw-in at the end with the Trojan horse, and the dog eating the meat out of the thin air while chasing Bart and not losing a step in its stride.
Run faster, boy! He's got a taste for meat.
Like, it's just, there's so much fun that happens in this Team Discovery Channel.
I swear I'd never hang out with him.
The only thing I want to know is why is Database there?
Why does he talk so damn much? Yeah, no. Yeah, we all knew that was coming, and it's hard to argue with you. It really is a solid episode, but
I'm glad that it made your number 2, man. I honestly wasn't even sure if it would be in your top 5, and I didn't want you to just put it in there just because of me.
Oh, no, I love that episode. It's really, really strong, and it did toy in my number 1 spot, but I ultimately could not. I just realized how dirty toy in number 1 spot sounds. But I could not resist putting this episode at the top. I love it so much. Always have, ever since I first saw it. So many great memories of both visual instances and jokes that run through this episode. And my favorite song of the season. I'm, of course, talking about Homer the Great, and I did declare when we recorded that episode at the end with Patty Cakes that I thought it might be my favorite of the season, and admittedly, it had some contenders, but it held on.
Yes, you're right. You did declare that it might be your favorite episode of the season. I will give that to you. And like I said, man, you said, you can't argue with any of the top 5 picks out of either one. I mean, obviously anyone can argue anything. However, it's a
Have
fantastic
you heard of the
internet? I have no quarrels about having Homer the Great in the number 1 spot because of everything I said about it earlier. Yeah, it's absolute fun. I just always picture Homer in the stained glass window, not the stained, in the window on the top where you can see a silhouette inside the club, and he's laughing and falls through, and he's completely fine.
I think my favorite is the No Homers Club, but we're allowed to have one.
You can't have monkeys reenact the Civil War. I love the ring part, but only 2 of us have a special membership ring. Yeah!
Yeah, all these things are why it was in my number 1 spot. So that gives you our favorite 5 episodes from season 6, our least favorite 2. And that pretty much brings us to the end of our discussion of season 6. We are gearing up for our 7th season. Honestly, it's hard to believe it's been going this quickly, but we are firmly in the golden age of The Simpsons. We are transitioning to new showrunners. We've got 25 more great, possibly I might even say classic episodes ahead of us.
No!
Rich, just real quick, don't read every one of them, and it's going to be hard. Just give me a couple that stand out to you that you are really looking forward to talking about.
Well, outside of the one that we mentioned earlier, which I can't recall what it is right now. The Hellfish episode. Yeah, because it's a super long title. Besides that, Bart on the Road, I always loved as a child, where he rents a car with Nelson. And
is that where they end up with all the wigs?
Yes, I believe that is that episode. And it's one that you don't recall because you don't remember the name of the episode, but it's fantastic.
I've actually got a fun guest lined up for that episode. It's a comedian from Dallas Comedy House, and she's going to join us to talk about Bart on the Road. So we'll have a real good time for that one.
That'll be fun. And then 2 more I wanted to mention. One that I've always adored as an episode is Team Homer, where they have the bowling team, the Pen Pals. And it's just, I always, as a kid, quoted the episode so much. And I know I've forgotten a lot of the quotes, but I know they'll come flooding back in when we review the episode. But for years, I still, to this day, always do the go Mo, don't make Homer shout out, don't. And then it gets the strike, and he goes, by the way, rhyming, no, that's when they rhyme Homer with his own name. I'm sorry, see, I'm already butchering the episode. But when they rhyme Homer with his own name, and he goes, by the way, rhyming Homer with Homer, mwah! And for some reason, that always made me crack up. But besides that, there's the obvious Radioactive Man, and then the one that I am most intrigued about reviewing, just because I want to see how much it lives up, which I think it will definitely live up to my expectations. My all-time favorite Lisa episode, The Summer of 4'2".
Yeah.
I love that episode. It is by far my favorite Lisa episode. And it's up there on like just favorite episodes all time, basically.
I would agree with everything you said through that, and that last episode in particular, the Summer of 4'2". I'm borderline bummed, but also excited by the fact that we have to wait all the way to the end of the season to get to it, because I'm really excited to rewatch that one. I have very fond memories. I remember really enjoying seeing Lisa get the W during that. I'll try to name some that you didn't name, even though a lot of yours would have maybe been especially the bowling one. My God, I'm so excited about that one. But Bart Sells His Soul, one of my all-time favorite episodes. You can actually buy my soul right now on patreon.com. It's only $5 a month. You can do whatever you want with it. That's patreon.com/bestdarndiddly.
Did the other person already get sick of paying for your soul?
Oh, no, you'd have to split it with that person. It's in the fine print. You can read all about it.
He's got enough soul to go around.
Soul to go around. Yeah. You have to share it with anybody who donates at that level. But it's a great way to help out the show. And again, you can literally, I have no safe. My soul has no safe word, I'll say. Do what you want with it. I'm also really excited about King Size Homer. Again, another episode that I remember just absolutely loving. Everything from the water drinking bird to hitting the any key to just Homer and a moo is wonderful.
I just want to see Honk if you're horny in peace.
And a more sentimental episode that I'm really excited about. I think I would declare it my favorite Simpsons Christmas episode, and that's Marge Be Not Proud, excuse me.
Yeah.
With Bone Storm and Leo Caravelli's golf challenge or something like that. I don't know, but it's a great fucking episode. Great.
Yeah,
episode.
we didn't even talk about Two Bad Neighbors or Lisa the Iconoclast, but we're gonna.
But we did say that we weren't gonna name them all, and I'm pretty sure we just did. So we've got a lot of great guests lined up, like I already mentioned. We'll make more announcements on that soon. But as always, we want to end this show just once again thanking each and every person who's ever hit that download button. If you like this show, please tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a bad neighbor, tell an enemy. Just download it for multiple devices so it makes my ego inflate slightly. Do whatever you can to help grow the show. Tell everybody you can about it. That really, really helps us a lot. And also subscribe on YouTube. That really, really helps us out a lot. But again, just thank you for listening and coming along on this journey with the WizKid and I.
And also, if you agree with our top 5 list, or if you think it should be in a different order or a different top 5, hit us up on Twitter. I'm at @thewiz_kid23. Miles is at MrMostDaysOff. The show's at Best Darn Diddly. That's DIDDLY. Please let us know your top 5 episodes of season 6. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, a big part of what brings us joy doing this show is talking to other Simpsons fans, both to agree and disagree about different things that went on and jokes and what we think is funniest. And just endless sending memes at each other is also a great way to communicate. But the WizKid and I will be back again next week with our first episode of Season 7 and the conclusion to the mystery of who shot Mr. Burns.
Listen to us in Season 7 or go to hell!
And until next time, be cromulent to each other.
Who controls the British crown? Who keeps the metric system down? We do. We do.
Who leaves Atlantis off the maps?
Who keeps the Martians under wraps?
We do. We do. Who holds back the electric car? Who makes Steve Gutenberg a star? We do. We do.
Who robs Cakefish of their sight? Who rigs every Oscar night?
We do. We do.
What up, everybody? This your boy B-Rob, the host of the Random Ramblers with Rob podcast, to where we have random guests and we have random conversation. I don't know why we're saying we, because it's just me, but I guess it's we in the sense that I have a guest weekly, airs every Sunday and everything. So I guess it's we like that. We French. So check it out. Go to randomrobcast.com or check me out on Instagram at Random Ramblers with Rob, or Twitter at It's B Rob, ITSBROB. Whoa!